Hello, everybody. It's not Friday. I don't know what day of the week this is. I don't know when this is gonna go up. Thought it was gonna go up Monday. It's not gonna go up Monday. It might go up Tuesday, but I'm gonna give it leeway because had to re-record this because I specifically said Monday on my last recording, and now I'm just gonna leave it open-ended. Don't know when this is going up, but hello. My name is Joshua Fekes Quest. Thank you very much for joining me. I usually say it on the outro. I'm gonna say it at the intro this time because I don't have that much news. I'm uploading at an abnormal time this week, because my guest is Saskio from Maryville University, formerly Maryville University, as you're going to find out. He has a twitlonger that he is going to be releasing and wants to clarify some things, expand on some things in that twitlonger. So he asked to be on the podcast, and I was more than happy to have him. He's an insanely decorated player in the League of Legends Collegiate circuit. So, yeah, that's why I'm having this drop sometime throughout the week. He is going to drop the twitlonger once he gets done putting his final thoughts onto it, final touches onto it. He's going to be dropping the twitlonger, and we're going to be dropping the video in coordination with it so you guys can read along and also listen along and get the entire scope of what he wants to convey with his twitlonger. So yeah, more than happy. Breaking the Friday drops this week. I don't think I'm going to have anything dropping this Friday since I'm having this one. Try to stick to one a week so I don't exhaust my queue or anything like that, but we'll see. Like I said, I wouldn't count on Friday being a thing for this for the podcast, but regardless, this one's good. Saskio, he has a lot to talk about because he has a very long collegiate career in League of Legends, very decorated. Like I said, probably one of the most decorated, maybe besides CKG, but he has won championships for years now. National, international. He's done it all in the collegiate circuit, and he's gonna get to go take his next step, and it's exciting. I want you to listen to it because, again, he deserves all your respect. He's been a mainstay in the Collegiate League of Legends system, and I was more than happy to have him on, and really, really glad. I'm actually flattered that he thought of me to use as an outlet. So, yeah, I'm definitely humbled. I feel great about that. But yeah, this is him once again, Saskio, making his fame from Maryville University. So here he is, and I'll have the twitlonger down in the description below, so you can click and follow along. We get into his background first, leading up to the twitlonger. The twitlonger is mostly about the 2018-2019 season. But I wanted to set up a background because, again, he's highly decorated, has a long history, and I think it's good to get into where where he came from and how he got to where he's at now. So I hope you enjoy it. I certainly did. And here it is. All right, man. So I don't really do much of an intro. This is just, this is considered an intro because I record separate the actual conversation separate from the outro to the intro. So the intro is going to be actually introducing who you are. And then this is just, this is the conversation. So yeah, thanks for reaching out to me, by the way. I really appreciate it.
For sure.
You're going to be the first person from Maryville University I've had on this podcast. I've interviewed Dan before, but I don't think I've ever actually interviewed a player before. Now, technically I have, because I've had your replacement. Oh, my God. The name is
My replacement?
Evan.
Evan RL, okay.
Yeah. I've had Evan RL on my show before, but
yeah,
that was last year. So we're here to talk about your career, though. So
yep.
You've had a pretty damn good 2018-2019, and it showed some changes. But just for the people, and we talked about it before, and I do want to go back. The first time I ever saw you was in the CSL tournament. We had a DreamHack, and you guys absolutely destroyed there. You were top lane then. What was it like getting into a program that was just first starting in Maryville University, where there wasn't really much of a track record, but you guys were really confident? You guys had trouble with Riot the first year, but you guys were really confident, and then you came in the next year and proved that the confidence was validated. What was it like going through all that? Because that's the whole story that I actually don't know about.
All right. So before the program was even started, Dan reached out a year previously, and he reached out to me, CKG, and Papa Chau to pitch the idea that he wanted to start a program. And going into it, I had almost no information. The only thing I could look at was UBC's team because they won 2 years in a row already.
Yeah.
And I was just going in blind pretty much. But I told my parents, and they were against the idea initially, but eventually I wanted to. This was a perfect way for me to pursue esports and education. So I was able to make myself happy for the esports side, and I was able to make my parents happy for the education side. That's why it worked out in the end. So I eventually came out, and I came out to the school and went through all the registration stuff, and everything was looking good. Fun fact: we did not have a place to play League of Legends until October. So that was like almost 2 months where we did nothing. We were playing in a random computer lab with not that great computers for the first 2 months, but after that, we finally got the lab set up. So that's just a funny little story.
That's how a lot of the schools are that don't have the actual scholarship programs are. I mean, now you're seeing more and more arenas, but at the time, that's kind of how it was. I mean, that was just like, was that 3 years ago? I think it was 3 or 4 years ago now at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just how it was. But once you guys got the actual arena, did you guys see a big difference in the performance and the communication and things like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. We actually had good computers, and the desks were lined up perfectly so that we can see each other and communicate with each other. And the practice just overall became much more smoother once we had that computer lab to play in.
So, and this is going to be a brief recap of your past winnings, past accolades, things like that, with a little bit of emphasis on the LICC, the first one you guys went to, because we're going to be talking about the one you just came from and how much that differed from back then, because I'm sure a lot of things have changed. But so you won CSL, you won at DreamHack, and then that's because you guys weren't allowed at Riot, and the Riot's tournament, which.
You want me to talk about more?
If you want to mention
yeah, sure.
Go for it.
So basically what happened was in the first year, we brought on me, Chody Walrus, who reached out to Dan, CKG, Papa Chau, and we didn't really have an AD carry. It was a mix, so we had someone called from AKA, his name was Liara. He was kind of the coach, kind of the AD carry. We didn't really know what his role was, and we didn't really want him to play because he was like a D4 level player. So it didn't really make sense. So we reached out to a bunch of AD carries, and Prototype was the only one available out of all the options that we had. So we reached out to him and brought him out. Now the issue is I believe we were playing in ULOL at the time, and we were using Prototype, but he wasn't actually at the school yet. But he was registered for the second semester.
Oh. Okay.
And then. There was a lot of drama behind it, and eventually it just came out that Prototype was not attending the school. Therefore, the matches that we played made us eliminated. So we could not play in the Riot tournament anymore, forcing us to go to CSL.
Gotcha. Well, you guys dominated in CSL, and a lot of people expected that. But then there was a lot of also feedback saying you guys aren't really doing so well because you're in CSL. I mean, they had the big boys are over here in ULOL,
Yep.
And then you guys came in ULOL next year and dominated that as well. So What does that do for you? Like validating you? I mean, you are young. You guys are a young school, young program. What did that do for you? Because I remember talking to Dan last year about it, or a year or two about it, and he said in order to start the program, he promised so many things, and eventually actually got those promises, which is something rare. I mean, you promise like championships. That's a bold statement, but you guys actually did it. So what was it like, the atmosphere after you got that first ULOL championship? Improving all your doubters wrong and getting the program off the ground.
So just going to second year, I didn't have any ego things where I'm thinking, oh, we won CSL and we're not with the big boys. I wasn't thinking about any of that. All I did, so back in the day, I used to elo boost a lot, right? Which I don't anymore, by the way. I would just wake up and just elo boost and coach and just play as much League of Legends as possible and just try to improve myself as much as possible to have the best performance on stage. And when we actually finally won ULOL, I was very happy. I don't know what else to say. It was definitely a huge eye-opener because I didn't think we were going to win going into it. I thought we were going to lose to Robert Morris on stage because they looked really strong when we faced them in North Finals, I believe. Yeah. And when we won, everything changed about me. I was more confident in myself in doing the things that I wanted to do, and I would be more open to trying out new things compared to before, when I was much more closed in and, to keep it short, immature.
Gotcha. So from there, you guys went to LICC, and I want to touch on this a little bit. It was a way different atmosphere back then. As far as production, for sure, going over there, because I remember the production 2 years ago was, they bless their hearts, they tried to do some really over the top
Yeah.
productions, and it honestly looked kind of weird. This year, it actually looked really cool, and I was really happy about it. But you guys, if I recall, you guys went over there, flew over to China. The Hong Kong, I think it was Hong Kong then too. I think you guys,
Wuhan.
Luhan. Okay.
Yes.
So you guys flew over there, and you only had about a 12. I think it was like a 12-hour, 10-hour turnaround until you started playing. So you went from being in North America on their time zone to flying and just being in their time zone and just going. And you guys still did pretty well. You go into the semifinals. How does that? How was dealing with that? Because we're gonna get later on to this most recent LICC where it looks like you guys planned way better. You had more, more everything else working for you.
Mm-hmm. So it was a long time ago, so I am a bit foggy on the details.
Sure.
But I do remember everyone came in together. I came in separately because I came from Vancouver. So this is my personal story. So when I was on the flight, after I got off the first flight in China, I think you land in Hong Kong first, and then I flew to Wuhan. I was actually so I had roughly an hour and 30 minutes to get to my next flight. I reached my flight. I reached the last. So you take a bus to your flight, right? In Hong Kong, I think, and it's a flight to Wuhan. So I actually reached the last bus to my flight 2 minutes before it was gonna close. I had no clue what I was gonna do if I missed that flight because I was very slow. So I've never traveled by myself to a different country. So I had no clue what to do, like where to go. So I was just very slow in doing everything. But that's just a funny story for the side. But when I actually got there and we had like 1 night's of rest and we had to start playing right away, it wasn't tiring for me. I was more excited because I was able to play in another country against other collegiate teams. So I was more happy that I was able to just play right away instead of having to wait out a couple of days going through like production or traveling, all that stuff around, and just getting right into it. So that was fine.
Fair. I mean, because I did hear a lot of horror stories about that, just about the sleep, lack of sleep, the jet lag, all of that. But I mean, it looks like you're taking things in stride, which, I mean, that does show. I mean, one of the reasons why you're obviously one of the best League of Legends players in Collegiate, anyways, because that didn't really. I mean, from what you're told, it didn't really seem, what you just said didn't really seem to get to you that much. So that's actually that's really telling of just of you as a character. But moving forward from there, guys went from LICC semifinals, losing to Toronto, coming back next year to I think it was CLOL officially this time. I think it's now CLOL. There was a little bit more turmoil on the team this year or that year, correct?
Yeah.
So we don't have to get into anything personal because I know some of that's actually kind of drastic, and I don't want to down anybody on the podcast. I don't want to get too heavy into it because like I said, I know some of it's real personal stuff. But what was it like? Like, what did you guys do after getting to the final? Well, not to the finals. You got to LA for the championship series and losing in the first, I think it was quarters to Illinois. How was the mindset there, and how did that affect your 2019 year?
Yeah. So before ULOL or CLOL now, a couple months before, while we were still playing the play-ins, the playoffs, we were creating a strategy which I highly disagreed with, but I just rolled with it anyways. Basically, I wanted to continue doing what I did to win the first ULOL. Was I just wanted to play carries and just be open to having me just open up the map through top and just doing what I do, like on champions like Fiora or Kled. But with this year, I believe Sojin wanted to follow more of the meta, which was at the time pick tanks top. And we rolled with that. We won 3-0, I believe. I forgot to who. CC, I think, in the ULOL North Finals.
Yeah, it was CC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2017 to 2018.
Yeah.
And then the practice environment from when we won to CLOL. I hate having to choose between both the words, but CLOL. It was just very poor. Like every game we were losing. I wasn't really happy with how things were going out. It wasn't working. And just going into the tournament, I just felt like we weren't going to win. And sure enough, when we went to the tournament, not only that, Sojin got picked up by CLG Academy, so that did not help, right?
Right.
So we were playing without a coach. And second of all, when he came in, he was like, I think he was a patch behind. So some of the champions were like a lot of things were different, and we ended up just drafting horribly. You can obviously just go back and look at the games. I even made a comment in the Twitlonger pick Ash here when you have a full supportive team composition. But yeah, we got destroyed by Illinois.
Yeah, I mean that actually. I mean, so this is gonna sound weird. Your guys' like demise was really good for Illinois because it made it look so good for the Big Ten network that that I feel like that actually gave confidence going into the next year. And they didn't do as well, but yeah, you guys went through a lot as Maryville University. It showed that in the finals. Yeah, like you said, Sojin specifically being absent because you could tell. So I think it was one of the Midwest campus clashes. It wasn't Sojin. It was Brokenshard who was the coach at one time.
That was the year we won ULOL.
That was.
I was gonna say ULOL from now on, by the way. But
yeah, okay, go for it.
Yeah, that was the year we. Yeah.
I will correct you on Twitter, but here on a conversation, I know what you mean. But yeah, okay. It's going to be CLOL for years and years to come, I believe.
Yeah. But so, yeah, the first year we won ULOL, that was when Broken Shark came in, and we lost in the finals versus RMU.
Okay.
And then the year after that, we had Sojin. The year that we lost ULOL right away to Illinois, we won Midwest Campus Clash.
Okay. So yeah, it was kind of a flip-flop there. But Sojin, like I said, he did get picked up, and he wasn't quite caught up yet. So there was quite a bit. But this next year, 2018 to 2019.
Woo.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys did really well. And you specifically. So let's talk about that. Because you moved from you've been a top main your entire time. And you moved to ADC. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I did highlight in my Twitter longer. But basically what happened was Dan really wanted to pick up Niles, regardless of how many top laners we had, so he just brought him anyways. So it ended up being me, Niles, me, and West Coast carry. And then we had 180 carry, 1 support, and like kind of 2 junglers and kind of 2 mid laners. So I did not want to be competing with 2 other top laners. And on top of that, I knew Niles was really good just by playing against him in the tryouts. So I knew he was probably going to replace me anyways. So I knew I had to make my move right away. So I instantly switched to 80 carry and started practicing that as hard as I can. So then now, first of all, the rosters are a bit more balanced so that we can play more around who we're using. And yeah, so I ended up switching to 80 carry. We played with a lot of rosters to see what would work well together. And it ended up being me because I was able to fit in the team really well. So we had Niles because he was a really good top laner. We put in CKG because he brought a leadership, which is what the team needed. Wolfie, just because he was the mid laner and he had really good mechanics. I was brought in instead of Prototype because I understood how to play the weak side. And as you can see for the rest of the year, we played a lot around Niles compared to me. And then Clyde, just because he was the only support. So that's what the roster ended up looking like. And how I moved to 80 carry.
You being through both rosters on different positions, how is it compared to, I mean, also, like, Maryville, they evolve. I mean, this year we see a 10-man roster, or this year coming up, I should say, we see a 10-person roster, which is pretty phenomenal for a collegiate team. How do you see, like, how is you being an OG, you being there from the very beginning, how has it been different from, back in the, time whenever it was you in the top lane, you had that, what was it, 2000, I think it was 2017 win on ULOL. Coming to 2019, what was it like? Because now you have to adapt to almost an entire new roster outside of CKG, and of course the back support with Kenneth and Dan. What was it like working with the new teammates and keeping egos in check? Because you said that there was referencing the Twitlonger that there was a little bit of a clash.
Yeah, so it was actually a really nice breath of fresh air to be able to play a new role. And a specific role where you are there to carry. It's in the name, AD carry. So It's almost impossible to put me on a champion, maybe, except we eventually did, like tanks. But I would always be in a position where I'd be comfortable, and I'm playing a new role, so I have to try really hard to be able to keep up with the other AD carries who've been playing the role for a long time. So going for the team moving forward, I felt like we made a lot of progress because I was able to be somewhere else comfortable, and for the practice, we were able to get a lot done in the practices, and we actually became a really good team in a short period of time with Coach Chris as our first coach for the year. So yeah.
So, I mean, I want to actually talk about the coaches too and how they actually influenced you, because you do hear on some instances where these coaches, they almost act as mentors.
You're cutting out, by the way.
Oh, is this better?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yep.
Might have been the internet being fuzzy there. Do want to talk about the coaches being mentors to you, or mentors to any of the students, because you do hear about coaches being mentors. I mean, even Dan has, is a mentor to a lot of people. I don't know if he actually means to mentor people. He just is a kind of a father. Yeah. He's like a dad. We've talked about, him and I have talked about that before. What kind of influence did you get from these coaches? Because you went through about, I think, four coaches. You went through Broken Shard, Sojin, Chris, and then Zoo. Chris may have been maybe the shortest one, because he had other things to do. But like, how did this affect on you? How to have all these coaches? What did you learn from them, and how did you grow as a human from just all this tutelage coming from different point of views?
Yeah. So everyone. Well, first I'll start with this. Everyone I've come in contact with, particularly in esports and like Maryville, they've all helped me grow a lot, regardless of how they were and how they did things. Particularly Chris. So starting with him. He was more on the strict side, and he made sure that people were in line, and that's exactly what the people on the Maryville roster needed, because we were just all really good anyways, right? So we just needed someone to keep us in line, and for us not to blow up on each other. So Chris taught me the perspective of more like military style. He made sure no one did anything stupid, and we got through our practices very cleanly, and we learned a lot moving forward. And he was the first coach to actually teach me a lot about 131. And the fun thing was he punished us when we did things incorrectly by making us do push-ups. You can probably find that somewhere in the Maryville Twitter.
Oh, that explains that. Okay, I've seen that.
But that helped us a lot in defining our 131 strategy moving forward for the rest of the year. So I guess you probably want me to talk about Zoo now. So
sure.
Zoo is not so he's our Lord and Savior, first of all, because we had no coach for a long time. So God bless that he came in. He taught us the same things as Chris. Well, first of all, remember they're both from E United too, so there's that. But he taught us the same things as Chris, but he was more like lenient in the way he did it. Like it wasn't like military style, like you gotta salute him, like push-ups and all that stuff. He was just very like more calm and collected, and just delivered us the information. Asked us after, do you want any extra like one-on-one coaching to make sure that you are fully understanding everything? And it was again a nice breath of fresh air to have that compared to the military style, because I don't think that's fit for esports. But it was cool seeing like how people did, how each coach did their things differently, which also helps me to coach other people and to be influential figure in someone else's life.
I could see West Coast being into the whole military style, the push-ups. he seems like the intensity just drives him anyways.
Yeah, I think so. So people are like, he'll say you have to do 10 push-ups. It's not everyone. Yeah. Wes would just do the push-ups anyways, even if his name wasn't there.
That sounds okay. That sounds right. That sounds like Wes. Bless his heart. So, what capacity was Wes on the team? Because he wasn't actually on the roster, if I'm correct. Was he doing a backup sort of thing? Because he switched colleges, if I recall. Or maybe he was looking to. Maybe it didn't yet. Actually, now he's looking for a job.
I don't think I've heard about him looking to switch colleges. He just came to Maryville.
That's right. Okay, now he's looking for a job. I think that's what I got confused.
Yeah, now he's looking for a job. But,
yeah.
So Wes's job. So obviously everyone was competing for. He was competing for top still, right? I think we had to choose between a sub. So that was the position that was really open, and it was between Wes, because Wes had a different style to Niles, where Niles was like hard carry, and like aggressive champions, whereas West is more like reserved, pick like Maokai, Nautilus, champions that just tank. So we were torn between those two, and then obviously Chody was also competing, but he was mainly there just as a sub to motivate Niles to become the best he could be and make sure Niles understood uh, the tank perspective of things too, so he can apply that to his carry champions. And also back to the roster thing. So the way the rosters work was if West was in, it was like most likely Prototype was in, because West plays tanks, right?
Yeah.
Prototype is hard aggressive, try to
Yeah.
carry, whereas I'm more like passive AD carry, just like try to farm it up and then try to carry in the mid game. So that's why it was a hard battle between like those were the main two switches, West and Proto, or me and Niles. So there was that too. But going back to the West thing, he was just there to help motivate Niles and keep him on his toes and make sure he's as clean as possible going into games. And a lot of weird stuff happened when we lost our coach. West became the coach, and then Chody came back in. But yeah, that was really it for the year. That was the only like things that changed.
I remember Cody was the one that played on this most recent Midwest Campus Clash. I believe he was the jungler, and then he did. Yeah, but he wasn't the jungler for the ULOL. Now you got me saying it. CLOL championships. So yeah, just kind of switching in and out of there, like however you can.
Yeah.
But Cody, he's not technically part of the roster anymore, though, right?
No, Cody's on the police academy now.
Oh, Mazel tov.
But yeah, going back to Midwest Campus Clash. So for that tournament, the reason why we used Chody over Andrew was because Andrew had to attend one of his close friends' wedding out of St. Louis. So he obviously just utilized Chody there. Yeah, we played the tournament, lost to Harrisburg. It's okay, not a big deal. But yeah, Harrisburg won North, by the way, just a meme. But which is pretty funny. But yeah, we used Chody for that tournament, and then going into ULOL for the champs, we were torn between West and Cody as substitute because both were kind of useful because we could sub them in and out depending on playstyle. But Zoo ultimately went with Cody almost at the last second, by the way, because I actually forgot why, but I think it was because Cody could actually be potentially subbed in for Cat God just due to playstyle. So we ended up going with Cody for sub, but we never used him in the actual ULOL. So there's that.
Gotcha. Leading up to the championships, I mean, this is going back to the roster, and also going to touch on your, what you were able to learn from both Chris and Zoo. Because you were talking about 1-3-1, and you talk about strong side versus weak side, and you detail that a little bit more down into the Twit longer, but you mentioned it a little bit leading up into the roster change, getting to Coach Zoo and going against RMU Miami and Columbia College. What did it like? How did Chris improve your 1-3-1? And what did strong side and weak side mean to you before knowing what they taught you? Because you were talking, and this, again, skips down a little bit to the strong side, weak side players part, where you're talking about one of the reasons why you played the way you did on top lane versus one of the reasons why you played on bottom lane. But you can see that both of those are two different timelines where you have a different influence in your life as far as coaching goes. And from my understanding, from reading the tweet longer, you feel way more secure in your ADC play because of the knowledge you gained. How did that affect everything leading up into the championship?
So I want to go way further back to 2016. So in 2016, so again in the random facts section in the tweet longer, I say how I just I try to 1v1 or 1v2. That's all I think about. So that's why I was really good for Collegiate, because I would just purely just try to find ways to try to kill the other guy, and if I also got ganked, I would also figure out how I can kill the jungler and that guy who's coming to kill me. So that's what made me one of the that's why other people considered me one of the best players in ULOL, specifically Drake Porter. He tweeted about who's like the best player in Collegiate, and it was either between Evan or me. So there's that. But yeah, and then going into second year, Sojin tried teaching me the 1-3-1, but at the time I was still like not the most mature in the world. I didn't listen that much to what the coaches were saying, and I would just play the game my way, just try to 1v1, 1v2 over and over again, and it And yeah, but going into where Coach Chris comes in, since he forced us to learn his way of playing the game, I was forced to listen.
Hold on, real quick. How did he force you? I am curious
Oh,
about that method.
oh yeah, the push-ups.
Oh, okay,
I,
gotcha.
I don't want to do 80 push-ups after a scrim. I'm gonna minimize my mistakes, so I'm gonna do 20 to 10 to 20.
All right, fair enough.
But yeah, uh, yeah. So he forced us to learn 1-3-1. I was forced to sit down and listen and actually look at my mistakes for the first time ever. And on top of that, remember, I could still get replaced by prototype.
Yeah.
So I had to make sure I was on my toes and just focus on improvement as much as possible. So once Chris came in and he actually taught us the 1-3-1, and people actually listened, that's why we improved so fast with Chris's coaching methods. But yeah, going into ULL champs with all that knowledge, I was just I was just way more confident on how we were playing the game, because it was just more like 100% things compared to like how we played before, where it's like 50%. Can Saskio solo kill this guy or not? You know what I mean? So
Gotcha.
that's it was just much more secure going in.
Okay, yeah, and that does show why you were a little bit more confident on ADC, because I did see a little bit of criticism on your ADC play beforehand, like early on, but that was because you weren't super aggressive or anything like that. But you talk about that too, and that's part of the strong side, weak side strategy. If I'm reading this right, correct?
Yep.
Was that
for sure?
Yeah, I mean, you as a team, you knew who the carry was, and it wasn't you being on top lane anymore. It was you on ADC, and you just needed to not feed the enemy. So how did that affect the whole gameplay in general? Obviously, you guys won this year, but you guys have won other years too. But you guys, I mean, talking to you, you seem like the team in general is way more confident. Do you think that just sitting down, looking at the mistakes, being able to fix them like that, looking at this weak side, strong side strategy, the 1-3-1, you think that was what really helped out?
Yeah, for sure. It helped out how we played the game and how we moved forward and won ULL. But going back, it so just being strong side, so strong side, weak side. So since I was on the strong side, my job was to just play safe and just try to get as much CS as I can. And like even in one of the games, I even pointed out in the Twit longer, I actually dropped 50 CS against NCSU.
Yeah.
Because I was playing Sivir, which I shouldn't have picked. First of all, I should have picked Ezreal for obvious reasons. And on top of that, they had Varus and Brand, which was like hard pushing, and they could just poke me from miles away. And on top of that, Clyde, like the second he hit level 2 or 3, he just left my lane. He's like, bye. And that was also one of the reasons why I fell that far behind. But with that way of being, with forcing me into that situation where I have to play very smart and more safe, actually influenced the way I played League of Legends in general. Now, when I'm playing even top lane nowadays, I don't play like how I did before. I take very calculated decisions, and everything I'm doing is more like 100% insecure. Whereas compared to before, it's like I'm just like flying in, seeing if I can kill them. So that overall has helped me as a player to improve and make myself more academy of like ready player. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, of course. Does just I want to actually like get a hint off topic. Is academy your goal?
Yes. So I was hoping to get an academy offer after I graduated, but I didn't get one, unfortunately. So I'm so going to Winthrop. I'm hoping I don't get an academy offer until right after I graduate.
Gotcha.
Oh, so hopefully right after I graduate, I'll get an academy offer, which is my eventual goal. Yes, to play an academy.
Okay, so let's get back on track a little bit. Sorry, I deviated there.
No problem.
So I want to get into the Western versus UCI, because you have been very critical over this year, especially. You've been very critical of your own play. You've had to sit down and look at all your mistakes for the first time, which opens up a lot. As a caster, that is the most terrifying thing in the world, is hearing your own voice and hearing how much you can potentially suck because you show it sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, and then this, I'm assuming this kind of goes off to you too. I want to get your opinion on it, because whenever I listen to other casters, now I can hear, oh, I used to do that. That's something that they need to work on, things like that. Do you see that in other people's play now, like Western versus UCI, and your Twit longer? You have your opinion. Are you like influenced by what you know now, being able to judge your I won't say enemies, your opponents better now that you recognize what's going on a little bit more on a broad spectrum?
Um, yeah. With the way I play now, I always try to judge players on their decisions now. Like so now I play like I already said I play more like 100%.
Yeah.
Make sure I take secure decisions. I look to judge players on that now, and the outliers are the players that understand when they could take these 50%, 60% all-ins when they have no clue where the jungler is. Like that comes down to their intuition, and that's what I will find. That's how I'll find a standout player compared to a player who will just play really safe. So like now's an example. Like he just has a feeling that the enemy jungler isn't there, even though the jungler is on his side, right? The enemy jungler is on his side, and he'll take aggressive trades. So that is where I like to define whether a player is really good or not. And then then in between, there's the players that play really smart and safe, which is the ones you want to be picking up. But yeah.
Gotcha.
But going to the Western versus UCI, I will point this out. I believe their weakness, and I've talked about it a lot, and I've actually watched a couple VODs on it to actually confirm my theory. I don't think their top laner is that great on UCI. That is one of the reasons why they lost. Although going back to the year they won, that was one of the reasons why they won, because they just camped the crap out of top lane to make sure he was as fed as possible and comfortable playing the game. But this year, they lost to Western because he was left alone on an island, and I don't think you can do that to Captain Nuke. So they ended up being punished, and they did lose to Western because of that.
Yeah, that is weird. The whole thing about League of Legends is that you can do one strategy 1 year, it doesn't even work the next year. It possibly won't work next year. It does change quite a bit. And you were talking about last year. That is one of the reasons why they won. Captain Nuke being camped quite a bit. This year, a little bit of a different story. You guys won. What was it like winning? I mean, you've won plenty of championships, but you've won the big one twice. And this is, from what it sounds like, this is your out year going into a new school. How did that feel? Like, what was it justifying? I want to know what was going on in your head.
So, going to the finals, we knew for sure we were probably going to make finals just because our side of the bracket wasn't that strong.
Right.
So we were guaranteed to get into the finals most likely. But when we actually, so once Western won, by the way, we were all very happy because UCI was actually a very strong team, and facing off against them, we wouldn't know how we would going into the match. But we scrimmed Western a lot, like going up to the finals match. And we knew exactly how they played. They just like to run at us. So we created a specific strategy once we knew they won to play around that. And most of the scrims, I guess I can leak them now. They were like 80 to 20%. We'd win 80 and they'd win 20. So we were all very comfortable going into the finals match. And when we finally won, I was very happy because it was kind of like a semi-retirement moment. Like, so if I didn't go into another collegiate team, I would be able to retire peacefully, kind of. But if I did go to another collegiate team, that's fine. I just want another ULOL, and it will look really good on my resume, and I'm achieving more things. So I was just very happy overall, again, that we were able to win. Although I'll say this, I was more happy the first time.
Why is that?
I was more happy the first time because I didn't think we were going to win going into the first time. And second of all, it's like my first ever big achievement in my life. So there's that.
Gotcha. And yeah, I mean, the first time usually is always like one of the more, like, I guess, grandiose moments. It's like the first time anyone wins a Super Bowl, the first time anyone wins any sort of championship. It's always going to trump the second time, even if it is a higher battle, because that first time, I mean, that's what you've been living for the entire session, the entire career. And now you get that, and it's there. And the second time, it's just icing on the cake at that point.
Yep.
So, so you won ULAW. C-Law. Really hating myself right now for that. So you won C-Law. No, it's not legit. You won C-Law. This time, going over to LICC, League of Legends International College Cup. This one being in Hong Kong. I'm going to get into a couple things here. Some of it, most of it, the game, of course. We want to talk about the differences between 2016, what we talked about, and this year, because you've had a few more international tournaments, I believe, in between this time.
Yes.
And also, do want to talk about the political climate. Just a hint. Not want to get too much because it's not a political podcast whatsoever, but I know it does affect pretty much everything going on in Hong Kong at this point.
Yep.
But we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to that in a moment. So, International College Cup. You guys go. You're way more prepared this time because A, you've done it before, and B, you prep for it. You guys go. You guys went a few days before the actual tournament started, right? And just chilled.
Yeah. So we'll start off with this. So we flew out almost a whole month before the tournament even started, and we just made sure to get as much practice in as possible, which was really good, by the way, for the tournament. And so we did that. But when the actual tournament came, we flew out 5 players and Zoo. Unfortunately, Dan Clerkey and our photographer Shipley didn't come. But yeah, we went with that. And the reason why this tournament was so much nicer than back then was because they gave us a day to fly in. We were able to sleep. They gave us a whole day after that to just go out.
Who's they? Who's they?
Tournament organizers.
Okay.
Yes. They gave us a whole day to just go out and just explore. So it was all planned. We went to the 100-story building in Hong Kong, which is the highest building, by the way, there. And we explored the mall beneath it, and then we actually went to the top, and I have a picture in there. Yeah, you can click it. I got a picture with one of the Brazilian players, I believe.
Okay, that's not just a dude there, because he's supposed to be there, but he looks just like Sojin. Like he looks like a smiling Sojin, which is really weird.
Yeah, but I got a picture with him there, and and then they took us to a dim sum place, and then we were able to go to a couple of other places. But that was just really nice overall because we were able to experience Hong Kong, and on top of that, it was kind of just like a nice break before everything goes down on the Summoner's Drift. But
So just a very brief moment for the political atmosphere. There are riots going on in Hong Kong. It's been going on for weeks now, every weekend for I think 8 weeks, 9 weeks, something like that. How did that affect anything? Because I actually reached out to Clerky when I first started seeing the white shirts start beating protesters. I reached out to Clerky because I knew you guys were over there. I was like, yo, you guys all right? And all he said was that you guys talked to the counselor. You were informed not to wear black because that's the protesters' color. But so get into that a little bit. Was there anything that was affected by the protests for you and your team?
So obviously everyone was very aware, right? Dan reached out to embassies, Canadian embassy and US embassy, so we were fine if we really had to, but we were pretty far away from all of that stuff. We were in Cyberport, so I think most of that happens in like the main Hong Kong area. But if you actually look at the map where we were actually on Hong Kong Island, which is like south of where all of it's happening. So we were pretty much safe for most of the tournament. However, once we got to the actual venue, which was at the exhibition center, which is like closer towards the middle of Hong Kong, we were more closer towards it. And after the tournament, all the teams actually got on a bus and drove out towards a dim sum restaurant. And we actually drove past the protest, the people wearing black and who had the black umbrellas, the mask, all that stuff. And it was peaceful, just driving past it. But it was really cool to see it in person compared to just like reading about it online and seeing it online. And it was just all very peaceful. It was just people walking around. So that's my experience with the protest.
Fair. So going into the International College Cup, how do you guys do research? Because I know sometimes it is really hard finding information on a lot of the different teams. Porto is one of the easiest ones because they have their broadcasted by, I think that it's called the EU Masters. But there are plenty of other teams out there that I would assume is hard to get information on. So what do you guys do to prep for something like that?
So most of the teams, I believe, we got information on. So the Vietnamese team actually reached out to me to like say hello, like we're Vietnamese too, like well we're looking forward to meeting you. I actually messaged them. I was like, hey, do you guys have your VODs of when you guys played? And they're like, sure. They just handed it to me. So
really,
we were able to get the Vietnamese team from like that.
Would you guys done the same for them?
Yes, we would have, because first of all, it's really easy. Like we're probably the easiest team.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, that's fair.
I probably would have sent it back, but I think most of the teams we had information on. We did not, however, have information of one team, Beijing. near 0, and that's also one of the reasons why we lost our first game to them, which was the first game against them. So we only got to see them play once, which was on stage 2 hours before our match. So that's all we had to work with against Beijing. But preparing for the tournament is pretty easy. You just need to look really far in and like search up the solo queue accounts of these players, look for the tournaments, and just prepare and be ready for anything that they can send at you during practice.
Gotcha. So, you guys are making it toward the finals, but you guys run into a roadblock, that being Porto. If I recall, you guys reverse swept them. I think it was best of threes, and
Yep.
they had you down one game, and you came back and won 2 games. How do you deal with that sort of pressure? Because is it different than handling the pressure over here in NA, where you're used to all the teams, you know the players, you know the environment, as opposed to over there where you're in a foreign country, you're in a foreign tournament, and you have barely any sort of, I guess, familiarity with any of these teams?
Yeah. So let's again take a step back. So during the play-ins, we actually could have been knocked out 2 times during the play-ins because I believe we dropped down 1-3, I think, or 1-2. So we could have lost to Turkey. If we lost to Turkey, we would have been knocked out, and then we could have lost to, I think it's Oceanic. I'm not sure. So we could have lost twice and got knocked out already, but we won. And then we faced off against, what's that team? We had to play another group stage match on stage, and if we lost that, we also would have got knocked out because Beijing would beat us in the tie because they already beat us, right? So there's that.
Yeah, I think the other team might have been Korea.
Yeah, no. Korea's on the opposite side still. So
Okay.
after group stage, we did. Oh, it was against Porto. There you go.
Okay.
If we lost to Porto, we would have been knocked out too because we beat in a tie against Beijing, but Beijing beat us. So then they would have got pushed up. So we had 3 chances to get knocked out, and we overcame all of them. So now we're out of groups. We had to play against Korea on the other side. It's a best of 1. Those are really scary. We had no clue how strong this team actually was because we didn't know the scope of their competition. And on top of that, most of the games were played off stage during the groups, so we had little information. But we went into the game and then we won. So now it's been 4 times we could have been knocked out, right? So we overcame all of that, which was pretty insane. So now we finally go up against the beast, which is Porto. So going into the games, I was actually stressing out a lot, and I do point this out in the tweet longer. So a lot of the stress, in my opinion, is just me overthinking, and because there's a lot of waiting, right? We're waiting like 3-4 hours before we're playing. We're watching the other teams play, and I'm just sitting there like trying to calm myself down, call my parents, call my friends, and just talk to them so that I can focus before I get into my match. And yeah, so going into the series, we dropped down 0-1. I was very scared that we were about to get knocked out, but yeah, I just believed in my teammates and just did my best to just keep doing my job, and hopefully my teammates would carry. And we did come through. We came back 1-1. We came back 2-1 after Zoo like coached us about what exactly they're doing mid set. So after we lost the first one, and we came out on top. So God bless.
And then you go on to face. I'm gonna try to pronounce. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it. GMI.
I think it's we just say Gmay. I don't know the exact.
Okay, I actually googled the pronunciation when I mentioned their names last week on my podcast, but I don't remember it. But how was it going against them in the finals? Because they, I think they 3-1 you, didn't they? No, 3-0. 3-0, goodness. Okay, well, how was it going against them? And what did you learn from? Did you learn anything from them, or anything like that, or did you just enjoy your time while you were there?
Yeah, so this was kind of like a revenge match because we did actually lose to them in Sanya when we went with Coach Chris in December. We lost to them 0-2. Like it was like the first match, and we just got 0-2, and we had to go home. But
Oof.
So yeah, it was a way for me to get revenge.
Yeah.
You were saying something?
It was an oof that you got 0-2 and had to go home.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, going into the match, I was like, yes, we get to get our revenge now. So when we got into the match, they did a lot of cool stuff. We had a cool opener where these things in front of us like lifted up, and then we were shown here. I'll send you a gift outside the podcast. But yeah, the opening was really cool. We prepared a lot for the match, and yeah, we finally played the games. So going into the games, I was definitely nervous because we were on like the final stage. Like it's do or die now. Like you can't back down. So yeah, I would say my overall comment about the series is we went with our normal strategy, but they just did things way better, and it ended up not working. We ended up losing in game 3-0.
And I mean that happened. What was it? It was 2017. That happened at University of Toronto as well. That was Heiko College of Economics. So, yeah, China just seems to have some pretty good teams. But you accomplished what you wanted to. You still got over there. I mean, you won the CLAW championships. You got over there. You guys placed better than you did 2 years ago. Did you guys go to the LICC last year as well?
No, we did not.
I don't remember hearing anything about it. So you guys have improved. But moving on from there, that just happened about, what was it, 2 months ago? It was about a month and a half ago now, I believe.
The LICC that we just played in.
Yeah.
Wasn't that 7 days ago?
Was it 7 days ago? Oh yeah, it was. I just updated on my podcast last week. Oh my gosh, no, it was the hype that started about a month ago, and then the actual games happened a month ago. My memory is shocked. But so you're moving on. You're doing your what is in the future for you now? Because you do have a your future plans on the Twit longer. You've talked a little bit about it, but go ahead and get into actually what you're doing now, because you're not going to be with Maryville University anymore. Is that correct?
Yep. So I will not be at Maryville University anymore. I will be going to Winthrop University in South Carolina. I saw a tweet from Brick saying they were looking for support. So I reached out to him, and then I got in touch. He got me in touch with the whole manager, which is Joshua Sides, also known as Coach Bo on the internet. And we just went from there. And eventually it just came down to just putting me mid lane, because their mid laner originally, I think he dropped out of the whole thing. So I ended up becoming their mid laner. And then they found another support now, which I will talk about in a second. So yeah. Is there any other questions there?
No, I mean, you're going for your you got your undergraduate in business administration, because we can talk about, because Collegiate League of Legends, Collegiate Esports does have to do with your actual collegiate life. You said you do have mega goals to achieve in life. You want to talk about some of those, because now you're going to Winthrop, not just to play League of Legends, but to pursue a master's degree, which allows you to play League a little bit longer. So tell me about that. Tell me about your goals. What do you got planned for the future?
All right, so after Winthrop, right? So my goals that I like to tell people in person, so I look normal, is I just want to join a business, climb the corporate ladder, and just make a lot of money and get as much experience as I can, like managing people, working with people.
Oh, that's not normal. That's essentially what I do.
Yeah, that's the normal stuff.
Yeah. I don't make money.
Now the weird stuff that I don't really want to get into. It could be in a whole nother video.
Oh yeah, you don't have to.
I want to create a mega underground base.
Okay. like a bunker.
Yes, in expectations of the world going south. That's all I really want to say about it.
Oh, gotcha. No, that is fair enough, and I wholeheartedly appreciate you so on that one. So Winthrop, what attracted you to Winthrop? Is it just because of the business administration degree, or was it a combination of them needing a League of Legends player? I would assume they have a scholarship program there as well.
Yep. So after for the tryouts, I kind of knew I probably wasn't going back, so I started looking at schools, potential schools I can go to, or trying to reach out to academy teams, but school was more likely to happen. So I remembered like months back that someone called Coach Jones tweeted at Dan, because Dan tweeted about something about scholarships or something, and Coach Jones tweeted how like Maryville just had like best scholarships to give out, just got the best players and won. I won't get into that, but I saw he was like the director of Drury Esports, so I remember that name. So I went back to it.
Oh yeah, I had him on the show like 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Michael Jones.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Michael Jones. I did. Okay. Anyways.
No, you're good.
Yeah. So yeah, I remembered. I was like, oh, there's a guy that there's a manager. He's the manager of Drury Esports. So I searched up Drury Esports has an MBA program, which is exactly what I want, right? So I reach out to him, and we were setting stuff up, which didn't end up going through because Winthrop ended up looking for players. But once I saw Winthrop's opportunity, I reached out to them too. I just wanted to keep all my options available, right? And
Yeah.
I ultimately decided to go with Winthrop because if I had to go to Drury, I'd have to work as a graduate assistant, and I didn't really want to do that because it wouldn't. It would be very hard to balance. First of all, the classes are kind of hard because we're in a master's program now. Second of all, like I'm doing esports, so you're kind of dedicating 3 hours a day to minimum to improving your gameplay. So I just wanted a place where I can focus on exactly what I wanted, which was play League and classes. I didn't want anything outside of that to impact. So there's the whole story behind that.
Okay. So I want to get into one more topic on Maryville University, at least from what I can tell. Because again, I might think of something else to ask, but based on your next answer, you're getting replaced by Value and Evan RL. Do you have any opinion on that? Are you helping them transition in any way, or are you just kind of piecing out? As like, hey, thank you for the good time. I'm going to Winthrop now.
So the only influence I had was we scrimmed the secondary team, which they're playing right now in Upsurge, I think, or just a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
So I scrimmed them, but I'm not like they're specifically helping them out. So yeah, I don't really have any more influence on the team. Like I'm out. But
fair.
I will give my opinion on Maryville moving in for next year.
Ooh,
though.
please do.
So God bless, I'll be out of the North region, so there's that. That's also one of the reasons why I didn't go to Drury. Drury's in the North region, whereas Winthrop is safe in the South. But Maryville moving into next year, I still think their team is clearly top tier, right? Yeah. But there are more distinct weaknesses, in my opinion, compared to this year's roster. They don't really have. Okay, I don't want to talk trash on any of the players, but what they're creating is they're creating a 10-man roster. Their team, assuming that Zoo and Andrew, I hope this is not a leak. Andrew is going to be working for them, Maryville. So there's that.
I think that was on Twitter. You're talking about CKG, correct?
Yeah, CKG.
Yeah, I think that was on Twitter. I think
it's on Twitter already.
I believe I heard about it. Yes.
Okay, good. I'm not leaking anything. Yeah, so they're building a 10-man roster. They got a lot of good players, clearly. But at the end of the day, remember, there's still only 5 players. And you can easily pinpoint the weakness of their team if you just look at the roster. But as long as they keep the 10-man roster and utilize it to its full effect, because they can easily do in-houses, right? And they can plan around their classes. They don't have to do 6 to 9 every time. They will be a top tier team. No, they'll win ULO. That's all I'll say.
Gotcha.
I don't want to talk smack on anyone.
No. You don't have to. And I mean, given analysis, it's just good enough as it is. And if you say they're going to win ULO, they probably are going to win ULO at this point. Yep. So that brings us to relatively the end of the Twit Longer. We didn't go through shoutouts. Do you want to go through the shoutouts yourself, or do you want to save those for anyone who just reads them?
It's
up to you.
Yeah, I think that's my way of just thanking people. I already thanked them all of them in person in my way. That's just but I do want to talk about my roster.
Do it
for Winthrop.
Do it.
So, first of all, I'm gonna say this: we're about to smurf in the South. Second of all, the roster is going to be Habaragi, which I believe he came from CC, secondary team. We got Mordio, the god, the legend himself.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, you don't know this, right?
I don't know the Winthrop roster.
Okay.
I know Mordio. I didn't know of his status on Culver Stockton anymore.
Yeah.
Though.
Well, all of this podcast, the Swit Long, will all be released at the same time as the announcement.
Yes.
So yeah, it was good. So yeah, it was Mordio. Now it's me, and then we have a Harv. I'm not sure. Have you heard of Harv before?
I have not.
Okay. Well, he's a up and coming 80 carry talent, and we have a support who is not really known, but his name is Gen SL. So there'll be that. He's like master, like high grandmaster level. So that will be the roster for Winthrop University going into next year. So all I want to say is everyone in the South, y'all better be scared.
How you feeling? How you feeling about mid? Because I mean that's gonna be your third role that you've played, and mid is mid
Fifth role.
fifth. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So how you feeling about it going in?
So I've been practicing a lot of solo queue in mid lane recently. I've been inting my ass off a lot of my games, and I'm pretty sure I've been being flamed, but I turned off the all chat and
That's
your team
best.
chat, so I can't see any of that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've just been putting in a lot of practice. I've coached a lot of mid lane, so I'm pretty familiar with the role. So going in, I'm feeling pretty confident as long as I continue playing the game and stay motivated to succeed in getting better.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
Yep.
I look forward to seeing the South. I've never looked forward to seeing the South Conference. I am now. So
Yes.
yeah, the South Conference they're not quite strong as the other ones typically, but they certainly did just get a lot stronger. So I'm looking very much looking forward to that one. Anything else you want to close out with, Tony? Thank you very much again for being on. Anything else you want to?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for keeping me on.
Yeah,
I will say this.
What's up?
My career started in the north, just like how the sun rises in the north, but it will set in the south. Successful.
Fair enough.
That's my cool ending. Like, edit that out, Beckers. Make me sound cool. But anyways, but yeah.
No problem, man. So that's gonna wrap it up.
Yep.
Once again, thanks for being on, and I'll link your, if you don't mind, I'll link your Twitlonger onto the description of the YouTube channel as well.
Yep.
The YouTube, the posting.
For sure.
All right, man. Have a good night. Thank you. Good luck in your future endeavors, and congratulations on your entire career. Even if the South isn't quite where it's at for you, you still had a hell of a decorated career. So, man, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Yep.
And there you have it. That is Saskio's story. That's his future going into League of Legends next year, going to Winthrop University next year, going for his master's degree in business administration. So he's got some good ambitions going for him. I don't care how ridiculous, how weird he thinks the underground bunker is. I think it's awesome because I am a paranoid individual who doesn't have any faith in humanity and the direction they're going. That's another podcast for another time, probably on a whole different genre of podcast. Or if you just want to sit me down for a drink, I'm more than happy to ramble to you about my weird belief in humanity as well. But my name is Joshua Feckes Quest. That is going to be the end of this podcast. Thank you very much for joining me on a Monday. You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Feckes, P-H-E-Q-E-S. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section below. Hit me up on Twitter. Do whatever you want. But I do love the interaction because it shows me that you listen and that you appreciate what you're listening to. So, once again, thank you very much. And I think I'll still put one up on Friday. I have an interview coming up later on this week with another individual in the collegiate scene, or at least formerly in the collegiate scene, who is a dear friend of mine, a coworker, colleague, and again, friend. So, yeah, I'll probably have something else going up, probably Friday, but it's just going to be a special week where I have one going up Monday and Friday. But until then, once again, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you around.